President Donald Trump was seated in the Oval Office reviewing his daily briefing, when an unmarked envelope was quietly handed to him. There was no return address, just bold handwriting stating it was for President Trump and to be opened in private. Intrigued, Trump gave a slight nod to the aide and opened it himself. Inside was a neatly written letter. The very first line stopped him cold. "If you're reading this, Mr. President, then I didn't make it back." The letter was signed by Staff Sergeant Nathan Brooks, a 29-year-old Marine. Trump froze, his breath catching in his chest. He had read countless military letters, some formal, some desperate, others filled with gratitude. But this one carried a strange and haunting clarity. Nathan's letter went on. "I served with pride, not out of obligation, but because I believed in something bigger than myself. I believed that leaders like you, imperfect but trying, deserve someone willing to fight for the America you envision." Trump leaned back, holding the letter tightly. This wasn't flattery or politics, it was raw truth laced with sacrifice. Nathan mentioned a box that would arrive separately, his final gift. For the first time in weeks, Trump cleared his schedule. He gave a simple order. "When the box arrives, bring it to me directly. No media, no attention." A stillness filled the room. Who was this Marine? And what had he left behind? 3 days later, a woman in her 60s appeared at the White House gate holding a small wooden box. Dressed in a simple black dress, her eyes reflected years of sorrow. She introduced herself as Carolyn Brooks, Nathan's mother. "He made me promise to deliver this personally," she said quietly. After thorough security checks, she was escorted through the grand corridors of the White House, holding the box close. Waiting in a private room, President Trump stood as she entered. Carolyn's hands trembled as she offered him the box. "He admired you, Mr. President, not blindly. He questioned you, but he believed in what you were trying to do for veterans, for those who'd been forgotten." Trump accepted the box with deep respect. "I'm truly sorry for your loss," he said softly. Carolyn gave a faint smile. "He sounded like someone I would have wanted to meet," Trump added. "You just did," she replied, through his words. "And there's more in that box. He said it would only make sense if you really listened." With tears forming, she asked one thing. "Please don't let his story become just another folded flag on a shelf." Trump nodded solemnly. The box was handmade, unlocked, with only the initials NB carved on top. Inside was a carefully folded Marine Corps flag, a silver medallion engraved with "Honor Beyond Life," and a weathered journal bound with a leather strap. On top was a note. "This journal isn't about war. It's about the battle we face at home." Trump ran his hand over the aged leather cover. Carolyn nodded gently. "He wrote it during his last 2 deployments. He didn't want it buried in a drawer. He said it belonged to you. Alone." Trump opened to the first entry and was stunned. "Dear Mr. President, if you're reading this, you probably already know I didn't come home. But don't mourn. I didn't lose. I moved forward. What matters is what you do with what's inside this book." Each page revealed Nathan's thoughts about Marines battling PTSD, about comrades returning to empty job markets, about his own father who died before receiving care from the VA. "They salute the flag but return to silence," he wrote. This wasn't a complaint. It was a plea for action. Trump closed the journal, his heart racing. This wasn't just a gift. It was a mission. Another entry shifted the focus. Nathan spoke about his father, a Vietnam veteran. "My dad taught me to stand tall, shine my boots, and never run from what's right. But he also taught me patience. He waited 9 months for VA help. He died waiting." Trump's expression hardened. He had read briefings. But this was different. This was pain inked on paper. Nathan continued. He never blamed America. He blamed the silence. The kind that follows when a flag is folded and handed to a widow standing in the rain. Trump recalled his own visits to Dover Air Force Base, greeting the fallen. He remembered the burden, but never had he seen it through the eyes of a grieving son. The entry ended with a question. "What will you do with the silence, Mr. President?" Trump had no immediate answer. That night, unable to sleep, he called General Langford, his trusted military advisor. "I want the real data on VA wait times, veteran homelessness, mental health access. No filters," Trump ordered. "Is everything all right, sir?" Langford asked. "No," Trump replied quietly. "It's not." He looked back at the box, Nathan's folded flag now resting beside the journal, like a silent witness. Turning the pages, Trump found sketches, ideas for VA reform, and notes on greeting returning soldiers with red carpets, not red tape. "He thought of everything," Trump murmured. Langford called back with grim figures. Over 37,000 veterans homeless, more than 20 suicides each day. Trump felt a weight on his chest. Nathan hadn't just served. He had chronicled the invisible war that came afterward. His real gift wasn't the journal. It was the truth. In the days that followed, Trump read more deeply. The journal wasn't only Nathan's story. It was the story of many. Names, dates, fragments of lives lost after their service ended. Corporal Ryan James, dead from an overdose while waiting for therapy. Lance Corporal Dean Guion, discharged with brain trauma, now living out of her car. Every entry ended the same. Still serving, in silence. Trump couldn't shake their stories. They were no longer numbers. They were voices. They fought with pride but came home without purpose, Nathan had written. Purpose doesn't end at war. It begins with welcome. Trump began quoting from the journal in meetings. His aides noticed the change. Less bravado, more reflection. Policy began with a name, not a number. He invited Carolyn back to the White House. She came wearing Nathan's dog tags, holding a faded photo of him and his squad. He didn't blame the country, she told Trump. He believed in its promise. Trump looked at her, humbled. He gave me more than a mission. He gave me his voice. She nodded. He wanted you to see the people behind the uniforms. Trump raised the journal. I see them now. Carolyn placed the photo on the Resolute desk. He wanted you to have this. He said if you ever doubt change matters, look at that smile. They sat in silence. Then she whispered, finish his mission. Trump nodded. I will. In a national address, Trump did the unexpected. He opened with Nathan's words. I didn't lose. I moved forward. Then he shared Nathan's story, the letter, the journal, and the battles veterans face daily. He didn't take credit. He made a promise. A Marine left me his legacy. I won't let it gather dust. He announced the launch of the Brooks Initiative, creating reintegration centers for veterans in every state. The crowd was stunned, then erupted into applause. This isn't politics, he added. It's personal. Nathan's name surged across the internet. Every major news outlet covered his story. The Brooks Initiative laid out bold steps. Fast-tracked mental health services, emergency housing, job training near military bases, and personalized government-funded therapy, with no waiting. Trump signed the executive order with Nathan's dog tag in his pocket. There was no media circus, just action. When asked if this was about legacy, Trump answered, no, it's about a Marine who believed in something bigger than himself. I'm just following his roadmap. Veterans across the nation felt the shift, not just in policy, but in acknowledgement. Nathan's name was etched not only into Washington's halls, but into countless hearts. More pages from the journal surfaced. Letters from other Marines, unpublished, unread. Some were devastating. Dear Mom, I'm scared. I'm not myself anymore. If anything happens, tell my brother I forgive him. Please don't let them forget me. Trump read everyone. He had them compiled, printed, and distributed free to libraries, schools, and every member of Congress. The collection, titled Still Serving, The Silent Letters of Our Warriors, topped bestseller lists, not for numbers, but for truth. At a press briefing, Trump held up the book. Policies speak to systems. These letters speak to our soul. Months later, he stood at Arlington National Cemetery to unveil the Nathan Brooks Center for Returning Heroes. Carolyn sat front row, the journal resting in her lap. Trump gave a rare, unscripted speech. Some fight wars. Others fight to remind us why those wars mattered. Nathan did both. And today, his gift becomes our duty. He looked out at the veterans. We see you now. Even his fiercest critics acknowledged. This was different. It wasn't politics. It was personal. A month later, during a town hall in Kansas City, a heavy-set Marine named Tyrone Wallace stood up. I used to think no one cared, he said. But when I walked into the new Brooks Center and saw my name on the wall, I knew my story mattered. The room went silent. President Trump didn't save my life. Nathan did. But Trump listened. That night, Trump reread the final journal page. If you make them feel seen, then my service didn't end. It echoed. Trump whispered to the empty room. It's echoing, Nathan. Loud and clear. One evening, his son Barron, now older and curious about the military, found the journal on his father's desk. Dad, who was Nathan Brooks? He asked. Trump handed it over. A Marine who left behind more than words. He left a guide to being human. Barron read all night. By morning, he said, I want to be like Carolyn, inspired by Nathan's legacy, launched the Nathan Brooks Foundation. With Trump's support, it grew rapidly, offering scholarships, grief counseling, and memorial programs for families of the fallen. Carolyn often spoke, not as a politician, but as a mother. My son gave the president a gift. But the true gift was this. When one voice speaks truth, it can change an entire system. And her message remained unwavering. Don't let the next Nathan be forgotten.